Hello and welcome to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to ask you the question, what are you failing to teach your kids?
So the big question is this: how are parents like us, who don't have a manual, who are doing the best we can, who feel as though we aren't enough, how are we going to raise healthy, happy children who we are proud of and still keep our sanity in that process? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Ryan Roy, and welcome to I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, a podcast for parents who are being real with themselves.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to be asking you the question, what is it that you're failing to teach your kids? Just the other day, I was dropping my little one off to school after the other one got on the bus. We are pulling into the daycare, and there's a car parked right there in the entrance of the daycare, and my immediate thought is, oh my goodness, like, why would you stop there? And then I see, in the naked eye you wouldn't really have paid attention, but I did see that there was a flat tire, and there was a guy kind of hidden off to the side trying to, I would say trying to change it, but as we get into the story, you'll find out that wasn't the case. And I thought to myself, as I drove around the car, against oncoming potential traffic coming out of the parking lot, I thought to myself, man, that stinks. We need to get that car out of this parking lot, simply because it's about to become rush hour, in this parking lot, as parents are really dropping off their kids. I tend to drop off a lot earlier than most, so it wasn't that busy yet. So I immediately, when I go in, I drop off, I ask if they have any cones or anything, because nobody knows that it's a hazard right now. Why? Because nobody taught this man, and I will stress the word man, that he has to put his hazards on if there's a problem. So I go and I grab a cone, I put it out behind him, and I said, hey, do you need some help? And he doesn't speak a lot of English, obviously, and I don't speak a lot of Spanish, and I believe that was his native tongue. And I kind of assessed the situation. He is trying to take the tire off, however, he doesn't have the car jacked up. Look, I don't know jack about parenting, but I do know you need to jack up the car if you're going to take a tire off. And I kind of say to him, I was like, hey, don't take the tire off. We're going to have a bigger problem, because where's the jack? And he's like, the jack's under the car. He kind of points to it. Now, the jack is under the car. However, it's not jacked up. So I say, how do you get it up? And he looks at me like, I don't know. And I look in his trunk, which was less than desirable to try and find something, let's put it that way. And I just go to my car, I grab my jack, I come back, and I proceed to jack up the car. But I show him how to use a jack. I show him all the parts to the jack. I show him where to stick the jack on the car so that it safely raises. And I jack up the car, and then I proceed to let him know as I'm jacking up, now you can take off the tire. So he takes off the tire, pulls out the donut. And I'm sitting here in my mind, and I'm thinking, man, this guy's got to be in his late 20s, early 30s. I mean, I'm not dealing with a teenager here. And I kind of asked him, are you late for work? And he said, yeah. And I said, we'll get this done quick. It takes 5 minutes. And then I grabbed the donut, I put it on, I tighten everything. I explained to him whether or not he understood how to tighten the bolts. And that may seem simple, but there's an actual way to do it, just to make sure that the thing doesn't go flying off. And then I let him know. I said, listen, you may be late, but you need to drive slow. This donut's not designed to go over 40 miles an hour, so still drive slow. If you're going a highway, go back roads. You'd rather get to work safely than not at all. And why am I saying all this to this gentleman? Because he doesn't know. And why doesn't he know? Because nobody taught him. Why did nobody teach him? Maybe he didn't have a father figure in his life. Maybe he never had a car. I don't know. I just know that he didn't know, and he was old enough to know. My point being is, what are you not teaching your kids? Then I was talking with one of my clients the other day, and he has 3 adult children at this point, but he's now dating a woman who has as he described, he's in high school for the first time. I now have a high schooler again. And he was frustrated with him because this kid, 14, 15 years old, was like, hey, what's for dinner the other night? And he's like, hey, listen, go check in the fridge. I had prepped some meals, so there's this, that, and the other in the fridge. Feel free to help yourself to anything. So when he got back from the gym and his girlfriend got back from the gym, kid goes to his mom, hey, Mom, what's for dinner? And she says, I could have swore he told you that there were these things in the fridge. You could help yourself to any of it. Oh, you guys are going to make me starve. And it's like, no. And then my friend got frustrated. And as we're on the coaching call, I said to him, there's going to be some coaching around this, but continue your story. And I said, at the end, I said, your kids at that age were probably self-sufficient because you were with them the entire time. They had this, positive male role model in their home. And I know you're a teacher by nature, so you taught them how to do these things for themselves. I said, he's been with his mom without his father in his life for a long time. And she's probably been nurturing him and trying to make up for the loss of not having a father in his life, and she's probably just always made his meals. I said, did it ever occur to you that heating those things up, say in the oven, was not comfortable for him? He goes, his mom has this strange fear of the house catching on fire. I said, whoa. Now he's home alone, although 14, 15 years old. His mom has a huge fear of the kitchen catching on fire. Do you think he hasn't heard that? Do you think he doesn't understand that? Do you think that would play a role in him not wanting to heat something up for himself? He's like, wow. He hasn't been taught. We assume at a certain age, all of a sudden, people are supposed to know things. People don't know anything until they experience it. And how are they supposed to experience it the right way, if there is a right way, without instruction? It gets to a point, I think, and I'm going to run this one down. I was at the bus stop just yesterday morning, and my son's in the 3rd grade. Our neighbor has a 1st grader and a kindergarten, and then another neighbor down the road has a kindergartner. And there's zero judgment here. But the mom of the kid down the road was like, oh my goodness. She goes, man, these kids are so far advanced. She goes, my kid's still having a hard time recognizing letters. It's like, you don't turn 4 or 5 and start knowing letters. You have to be taught letters. And the reason I say there's no judgment, because there's a little shock and awe in me, because I forget how much I pour into my kids. But my 2-year-old recognizes the alphabet at this point. He's not even 2. He turns 2 next month. And I have blocks, and we go over it, and we watch YouTube videos where they have ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and colors and sounds of animals and all that stuff, and he got it all down. You could ask him this morning, and I had to run this one by him. I said, what does a froggy say? And we have these things on in the background so he can listen. He's taught at school. He does go to daycare. He's like, ribbit. And I've never said that to him, but he's been exposed to it. Whether that's on YouTube Kids or that is at school. And I just laughed. I was like, a froggy does say ribbit. The reason I asked him, because he's practicing his jumping right now. But my thought was, how are these kids supposed to know their ABCs, mom and dad, if we haven't taught them to them? So don't assume they hit a certain age. And this is where it really comes into play. The kid's never been taught about finances. The kid's never been taught about the real world. The kid's never taught about investing. The kid's never been taught about credit and interest rates. And a kid turns 18 years old and you send them off to college and you got to start giving them money and you expect them to be responsible with it. And then they want money, right? So these credit cards are at the school campus and they're offering these students money thinking mom and dad are going to pay for it, or if they go into debt, it doesn't matter, they're going to go to collections. They don't care. If you don't teach them about money and finances, they're going to go and be irresponsible. And then you wonder why they're irresponsible, because you never taught them to be responsible. You never taught them about money. And this is a sensitive subject for me because I get parents asking me to coach their kids that they don't understand why they don't understand things. And I'll ask these college or right after college aged adults, but they're still like children. You know, did anybody ever teach you this stuff? Never heard of half the stuff you're talking about. That's their response. I've never heard of half of this stuff you've talked about. Now, I've heard it in passing, but I don't know what you're saying right now. And it's like a foreign language because nobody's taught them. Now, mom and dad may not know. I don't know. Mom and dad may not be comfortable talking about certain things. But when I hear that a 5-year-old going into kindergarten can't recognize his ABCs, my question is, what are you not teaching your kid that they must know? I'll leave you with that question, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Do you want to be the dad you wish you had? If so, go get my free book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, at BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com. Inside, you'll find my most effective 40 tips to quickly and easily transform yourself into the ideal dad. Go to BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com now and get it while it's free.